And hi and welcome everyone to this two-day symposium. My name is Gunilla Muhr and I am director and curator here at Centrum for fotografi. This symposium, Nordic Neighbours, Does It Make a Difference? Is part of a larger project, NPN, Nordic Photographic Network. The network was initiated in 2012, and it has as its aim to increase collaborations at the field of photography within the Nordic countries and to deepen the understanding of these practices. The form of this four-year project, as it is that each of the four participating Nordic countries, Norway, Finland, Denmark, and Sweden, host an exhibition and a symposium 1 year each at this particular week, which it is right now, week 37, which is also the name of the event. The first week, 37, took place last year in Oulu. And this year it's in Stockholm, apparently. Next year it will take place in Oslo, and for 2017 it will be Aarhus. So, why a symposium on Nordic photography? To talk about why photography is important might be completely unnecessary in this group of people. But anyway, the photographic image has, in our time, obtained an increasing significance for the human experience. It is a tool for our self-perception, as well as for our understanding of the world. It is part of the meaning-producing processes we use when we adopt a perspective or a point of view. So what is it that we see when we mirror ourselves in Swedish photography, or Norwegian, or Danish, or Finnish? In other words, what is the Nordic, and why is the Nordic perspective important? From a broader view, it seems clear that the idea of the so-called Nordic model has gained increased importance in different contexts lately. This can be observed in public debate regarding, for example, foreign and defense policies, but also trade policy. But equally important, I believe, is the cultural policy. This area which is crucial for communicating values and norms, and perhaps most important, an area where these norms and values can be critically reviewed. But what is Nordic or Nordic photography? Is there a specific expression that characterizes it? Sometimes certain traits are mentioned, such as light, nature, solitude of the people, portrayal of workers, or people in social exclusion. But it can as well be staged conceptual photography, which challenges our ways of seeing, or someone who turns the camera towards her or himself. Or it can be something completely different. Nordic photography is not a cohesive field. It is rather a complex field consisting of a plurality of disparate expressions, influences, and traditions. So the question is, are there a thing as Nordic photography? We can at least say that there are a number of conditions that tie the Nordic countries together. We are neighbors. We have similarities in our languages, perhaps some more than others. Our societies resemble each other, relatively, and our historical backgrounds are quite alike. We have what can be called a cultural and historical infrastructural ties between our countries. There is, one could say, a kind of underlying structure which helps the processes of sharing values and beliefs, which might also help to exchange culture and art. And if these shared beliefs and cultural practices actually gives us a common Nordic platform, how Nordic is it? in our internationalized and globalized world. Current experience suggests that geography and ethnicity are becoming less relevant to how art and culture expresses itself. We would probably find similarities as well as differences when we are looking at the Nordic, in the same way as we will find similarities and differences when we are looking at the rest of the world. It depends on how we look and what we expect to see. So from out of these reflections, I hope that we, during these 2 days, will be able to immerse into a discussion in depth and in width, and to twist and turn these questions back and forth and around. The idea is also to touch upon issues of Nordic photography and its practices at the different levels of which it consists. And now, the first speaker is Elina Heikka, who is director at the Finnish Museum of Photography, Helsinki. And welcome, Elina. Where will you be over there? And she will talk on the title, More Than Imagined Community, Nordic Collaboration in Practice. There you are.
Yes, thank you, Gunilla. Thank you for the invitation to this seminar. Nice to be here in Stockholm. Before I start the PowerPoint, I'll come a little bit closer to you. I'm the director of the Finnish Museum of Photography. We are in a cable factory in Helsinki. And just for curiosity, I would like to ask you, how many of you have ever visited our museum in Helsinki? Okay, good number. So I know that we have some international presence in photographic community. Our museum is a foundation. It's a National Museum of Photography, and quite recently, a few years ago, I understood that, okay, we might be the oldest photography museum in Europe. We are founded in 1969, so we have been there even before you have that photographic museum here in Sweden. Your association was founded before our museum, but we started our activities 1969. I have been there as a museum director since 2007, so that is my perspective. I'm to the Nordic collaboration, which I'm going to share here with you today. It was just very shortly after I started there at the museum that I got invitation from Denmark to come and meet the other Nordic directors of the photographic museum, and I think that next step was the portfolio review in Odense, and after that we have been going on very close collaboration with our Nordic partners, what I'm going to tell you more about within a few minutes. So my PowerPoint will, what happened? Let's check. Okay. And then just. Okay, now it's okay. Thank you, Jens. So I'm going to talk about two Nordic projects we have been running. One is is the exhibition project called Darkness and Light, which we had in New York 2014. And what we have there, we have 5 countries included. We had 10 photographers. And the second project, we are going to have a look. It was 2 years before. It was in France, in Arles, Voix of Festival. It was 3 nights of projections, 5 countries as well, but the number of the photographers was very much bigger, 34, and the number of the photos we show there, it was about 720. And with both these projects, we collaborated with the Nordic Photography Museums and also with some other institutions. But first, some remarks on that institutional expression. It was in Gunilla's introduction to this seminar. She put that quite nicely, that during this seminar we are going to discuss artistic expression, curatorial expression, and creative expression of cultural institutions. And which make me think that, okay, institutional expression, that what does it mean? That sounds quite funny in a way. And does it make any sense actually? Because as I see it, like we institutions, we are people who work there. We are people with a personal motivation. We are people like any other, and what I think that there's like nothing will happen without any personal motivation among the people who are the institutions. And the driving force for people in the institutions, as I guess at any other freelance curator or photographic centers or whatever, it's a kind of a curatorial curiosity and ambition. You want to do something. You have something to say. You have a message to tell. Or maybe I think that quite often the process is something like that. That okay, I have like a vague idea that I would like to say something about this, and maybe if I pay some more attention and try to work with this team, that there will come out something interesting and important. It's a kind of process. But at least in the museums, at our museum, and I guess that in photographic museums in general, it's like all this kind of Nordic collaboration, or any collaboration which is aiming at making something outside of your institutions in other countries. It's like have to say that it's also all the time it's something like very additional to our daily work. It's not at all like included in our daily practice, and these are like projects which start for some reason and then we go on with those. But it's like we don't have, for example, at our museum, we don't have like any structure running this kind of projects. So why do we want to do with our Nordic partners and go abroad with our Nordic partners? It's of course it's like you feel that we want to promote high quality photography. We are so convinced that okay, we have a beautiful photography in Finland and other Nordic countries, and we want also the other people, other corners of the world to see it and enjoy it. But in addition to that, I must add that of course there is like there's one intention is also to make your institution visible. It's like if you think that okay, we are doing good work, we have nice projects, and it's why not let our colleagues and people in Europe and even in United States to know more about us. And you are promoting your institution, and you are promoting the photography at the same time. And that institutional expression, it's like they are creative research project every time. When we start something new, you don't know exactly what's going to happen. Where do you will end up? It starts even I think that in terms of Nordic photography, we have kind of feeling that okay, we know quite a lot. We know many photographers from every country, but there is happening so much all the time that you are not able to follow step by step that all the developments in every country. And in addition to that, you have always to learn about the history of photography about each Nordic country. And then part of this research project is also it's defining. And I think it's something that you just can't avoid when you are having that Nordic collaboration, that you are like defining that what is Nordic and Nordic photography, and it's like an ongoing, never-ending discussion where you never like end up with any final solution. But I think that it's which is like in a way it's frustrating in a way. But then on the other hand, it's like a gluing force between us in the Nordic countries, that you have that kind of topic which you can share with your colleagues and compare how is it in Sweden and how is it in Norway, how it's in Denmark, and in the history and contemporary photography, and what we can share and what are the distinctive features in the photography of Finland, for example. So it's frustrating and inspiring at the same time, as I see it. When working for the New York project, we had like several discussions that like trying to define the Nordic photography. But I think that even the discussion, every time it's serious in a way. But on the other hand, all the time you know that it's just like impossibility to find up a solution for that. Maybe at the moment, like Gunilla was challenging us to discuss about that. What is that Nordic? Maybe at the moment, if you ask my personal view, it's something that maybe at the moment in Europe you have that kind of Nordic sphere in photography to compare with the Central European sphere, and where you can see some different differences, and there are something which is more like lacking in the Nordic photography, what you can find in the Central Europe. It's not like somehow in that way, but we can go on with this discussion later. And have to say that this Nordic international projects, they are very eyes opening, and I'm really like very happy that I have been able to work with this kind of projects. It's really, you learn so much when you see your work in new context. Every time you have a nice surprise, which is refreshing, and then you learn to know the international photography community, which I think that it's very important to everybody working within photography nowadays. When we are talking about the institutions and this kind of projects, it's like there are some differences as well. For example, if I compare these institutional projects to artist-run projects, it seems that we as institutions, we are not able to be as flexible. If there are several institutions working together and each institution has its own structure, it takes time to convince people working to convince all the institutions to go for the projects. When I started as a director of the Finnish Museum of Photography, in the Nordic countries we had 4 independent photographic museums, and then Anna Tellgren from Moderna Museet was our Swedish partner. But now the situation is that the independent museums we have only in Finland and in Norway, but in Denmark and in Iceland the photographic museums are now part of the bigger municipal structure, which makes it's change somehow the platform and to work together to some point. So, as a photographic museum, we are interested in history of photography and photographic museums in general. And when working with a New York project, we had also a look back, and it was especially Anna Tellgren from Moderna Museet who was mapping that territory. And based on our discussions we are having together, and Anna wrote the short text about this, which you can still find on the website of Scandinavia House. So about this Nordic connections and institutional connections since 19th century, the first platform was of course the photo clubs. Like in Finland, the first photo club was founded 1889, and it was like one of the very first meeting that they were discussing the change collections with the photo club in Stockholm, and it was changing collections was the way to work together. Later in times, the photographic magazines has been very, very important connectors between the Nordic photographic scene. Journals like Nordic för fotografi and later Foto, Swedish magazine, they showed a lot Scandinavian photography. And then this is not actually a official institution, but what I call fine art photography brotherhood. That is the kind of now we are somewhere in late 70s, 80s, when the photographic museums were founded and institutions were founded, and they were like group of men in each Nordic country who were like very, very enthusiastic with photographic and photographic art, and that was a kind of strong Nordic brotherhood. And in the beginning of the 80s, there was like one of the most important Nordic initiatives in photography that called Frozen Image. It was a big exhibition of Scandinavian photography, which was touring in United States. And then another exhibition in United States in ICP in New York, Stranger Than Paradise, from 92. And third to mention could be this Pari Photo 2006, when Nordic countries were the country of the Pari Photo, and there was a strong presence of Nordic photography. This 84, 92, and 2007, they are very different stages in the photographic expression or photographic field in general. If that 94, that was that uprise of the fine art, black and white photographic art. 92, it's a transitional period to where the postmodern photography was appearing. And then 2006, we are in the art market. So it's like a photographic scene. Big difference between the photographic scenes in 90 to compare 84, 92, or 2006. But I think it's and now when we are, for example, when we are having this our exhibition in New York, 2014. It's like in a way it's a new step, because that was a kind of collaborational project between the photographic museums. Once more about that, defining the Nordic. There is very extensive literature on Nordic photography and the projects on Nordic photography. This is just have a very quick look. This list is collected by Anna Tellgren, so we can see that now we have had the new Nordic photography series recently, but there is like plenty of other publications and exhibitions on Nordic. That list you can also find there on the website of the Scandinavia House. So now we are in New York. Scandinavia House is there on the 5th Avenue. It's this is the entrance to the exhibition space, and how the exhibition was described. So nothing about that typical Nordic things, but we want to demonstrate the breadth and strength of Nordic photography today. And there is the list of the photographers. The curatorial work for this exhibition was very democratic, in a like what is the best Nordic tradition. We were meeting with we had in the meetings of the Nordic Museum people. We start to suggest names, and finally it was like from each country 2 photographers suggested by the by the director of the representative in the group. Of course, it's like we knew what others were offering in a way, and that was the working methods which resulted in a nice collection of the photographers with really very different approaches in photography. So here are our partners, and here you can see that the project was supported by Nordic Kulturfonden and Frame Fund in Finland and Moderna Museet in Stockholm and museums. The biggest part of the biggest grant we received from Nordic Kulturfonden, it was 23,000 euros. We paid 15,000 euros for photographers as fees. So you can see that how little money we had for the collaboration, for the coordination of the exhibition. And this all started by an invitation from Scandinavia House. They wanted to have an exhibition on Nordic photography. So what you have here, this is the Finnish photographers. We have Nelli Palomäki there on the left hand and Ulla Jokisalo on the right hand. Nelli Palomäki's black and white intensive portraits, and Ulla Jokisalo, who is using photography in very symbolic way. Many of these the photographers in this exhibition, we had some like new beginners and established photographers. That Ulla Jokisalo, I guess that she was the eldest of the photographers. She was born 55, and the youngest photographers, whose work you can see here also there on the wall, is born in the early 80s, I guess. There in the front we have J.H. Engström's Swedish remote out of Stockholm places, nice series. There is that one is from Iceland, Petur Thomson's series, and there on the left hand really different from that. It was much about the materiality of the photographic objects. Once more, the Petur's work here on the left and on the right. And in the background, it's like it's a work of Katja Sander from Denmark, which is quite conceptual documentary piece. And this is a kind of study on the materiality of the photography from Norway. And this is about Icelandic greenhouses. And Tuve Mozart's stage photography, and also with a video where she's with her mother and grandmother, family going through family histories. We had a nice nice opening there, several hundreds of visitors, and the day after there was a seminar where Ingrid Nilsson from Friis was interviewing the photographers with Maria Karen from Iceland. And we were very happy to have like a very nice reviewer with many photos in New York Times, and you can't help it. But once you see that you are noticed, it feels good. And what we were also very happy that we were able to show the exhibition for the former director of the photographic department in MoMA. There was Peter Galassi was in the opening, and the contemporary director of contemporary curator of photography of MoMA, Quentin Bajac. He was attending a guided tour, private tour there in the exhibition. That was our New York experiences. And then this is the other project. A few words I'm going to talk. It's quite different from that, because this was not about exhibitions, but it was about projections. It happened in Arla, and that started also due to an invitation. It was the director of Voix Off Festival there in Arles who asked that if our museum would like to make a projection on Finnish photography for Arles, and we said that okay, why not? But why Finnish? Let's do it Nordic, and in this case, what we did is that we sent from our museum, we sent a call to our partners to the museums, but also to photographic centers. I don't remember, Gunilla, if you remember. No, you don't. But we asked names. And we collected the names of the Nordic photographers from different sources, and then me and our chief curator Anna-Kaisa Rastenberger, we just started to go through big number of works, and started to find out themes which would be not to be too forced. It was from the very beginning. It was very clear that it's not very easy. Not very easy way to work with that kind of material. The themes were not that obvious. The themes were not very obvious, but with some imaginations you could do some nice work. And the location where our projection was shown, it's here in Arles. It's a courtyard. In the evening there were some 500 people. Very high quality projections, extremely high quality projections, and starting very late in the evening. And this is and we had the screenings, 3 nights screenings there. Here, me and Anna-Kaisa, we are introducing our series there. And finally, this is some problems with this slide, but here were all the people who we asked to suggest photographs and photographers. And these were finally the themes that we ended up. It's okay. And I can show you some examples of this series after a few minutes. So I will explain a little bit closer what are these themes all about later. But before starting with the photos, some conclusions about these projects. And piece of advice. So the problem of defining Nordic, I think it's important not to get stuck in it, but just try to find fresh point of views. And what I have been thinking recently is that mapping the Nordic scene, how to know more about that what's happening in the Nordic countries in different fields. Could there be some new methods to work with in a way? It's like a day or 2 days where the photographers could come and show their work in projections, having like 30, 50 Nordic photographers, each one showing series of his or her work and telling shortly what is his work about. Of course, we have internet and newspapers, and we have exhibitions, but why not having that kind of Nordic gathering face to face? And that I think we could discuss. We have at our museum we are running portfolio reviews, because we don't have any resources for that exactly. We have Finnish experts, and it's mainly for Finnish photographers. And Finland, it's such a expensive country that I can't expect that having any big number of foreigners coming from abroad for portfolio reviews. So it having. And portfolio review is a little bit different from that kind of screening what I had in my mind. Maybe to have like a Nordic Baltic meetings, we could organize those in Riga or some other Tallinn or some other cheap Baltic countries where we can where is it easy to go and life doesn't cost that much. We have our network of museums, and each of us has contacts abroad. Personal contacts are very important. You must have personal contacts, but then to some point, it's I think that we must discuss that. Can those contacts be shared, and how can we here in the Nordic countries, how we can get some advantage of the networks our colleagues has. One conclusion is that it's so lovely and easy to work with the Nordic partners. It's like somehow, I think maybe it's because of some shared cultural background or Nordic values or whatever, but it's like it goes so smoothly. That's our basic most important experience. So that kind of easiness I feel that which is not evident when you are working with some other colleagues out of Nordic countries, and according to our experience, it's like you must be prepared for surprises whenever you are working out of Nordic countries, and the better you know your partner, the easier it is in a way. But if you know that museum partner is different from festival partner, or if you have like whatever is the partner, it makes every case very, very different. And if your partners are familiar with photography, or if they are more familiar with contemporary art, all that kind of things make difference. And this last point I found like very, very, very important, that even the projects itself are like good, and you get good response, and you did good work, etc. But what is lacking most often, it's somehow having some resources to finish the project in nice way, to get like all advantage that is almost offered to you. But it's like in most cases that we don't like where to find the final resources. For example, I mean that in the projections we had in France, we gathered beautiful archive of Nordic photography. I have shown, in addition to France Arles, I have shown the projection in Portugal. I have shown that in festival in Italy, Reggio Emilia. I show some example of that in New York, but it's such a resource that to have like some more money and to really like produce a DVD or whatever is the contemporary way. I think that we could have been running that kind of projection in each photographic festival around the world very, very easily. But then we didn't have time and resources to finish that project properly. And then, which is really it's a shame in a way. And another thing, in the ideal case, when we took the beautiful works, examples of Nordic photography to New York, it would have been like so nice being able to sell those works to United States, but for that you should need like some, I don't know, a network in United States, or I don't know if it was realistic, but somehow pieces were so good that they could find place in some collection in the United States. And also in United States, and the Scandinavian House, they were interested in touring the exhibition, but that costs, and we didn't have any money, and the partners in United States, somewhere in Minnesota and whatever, that they didn't have enough money to pay all the costs. So that kind of extra funding would be needed. And I think that these are not the only projects which could have been pushed a little bit further. So it's so much about communication, marketing, and a kind of product development in a way. And now we can turn off this. Yeah, that's Stockholm, that first. Yeah, first, this. Yeah, there. Okay, there's example of the series we prepared for France, and this is a PowerPoint I prepared for New York, part of that PowerPoint. And here you have the themes we established for the projection. First one, I love the society. And starting with Joachim Eskils and the Roma journeys. And then this is Jari Silomäki, Finnish photographer. He's combining the images with these handwritten texts. Helsinki, the day that Chechen rebels struck Ingushetia. And this is from Denmark, Jacob Aue Sobol, Arrivals and Departures, Trans-Siberian Railway. Finnish photographer, men 50 plus. And Martina Hogland Ivanov from Sweden. Alternative communities. Is it too quickly? Yeah. Okay. I don't know if if one could turn off that. Okay, this was this, and then it continues.
Right-hand side play up there. One of those surprises was in Arl when showing this series that they had live music, and the first night the music was just awful, and it was, and you couldn't do anything. It just suffer and and hope for the best for the day after. feminism. It was something that we have been working with at our museum when doing one exhibition to Turku, when Turku was the cultural capital of Europe. That happened. That was 2011, and then we introduced it also here in these projections. Thank you.
Wonderful. And now we have some time for questions before the next speaker. Okay, I have one. Or,
I have one.
oh,
Yeah.
you start.
When you did the
Yeah.
How was the process choosing these artists? Was that a common process?
It was a common process. Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
It was first we were trying to find a theme, but it didn't like turn out very easily. We were thinking themes like new beauty or something like that. But then actually it started that I said that I would like to show Nelli Palomäki and Ulla Jokisalo, and then somebody's adding that in that case, why not these two from my country, and that kind of negotiations. But it was a democratic process in that way, that we didn't have like any chief curator for the exhibition, which would have been very different kind of way to work together.
So you kind of adjusted who you picked?
Yeah.
According to...
Exactly. Like negotiating process.
But the criteria was to be young, right?
No. It's like Ulla Jokisalo was born 55, so she's 60. She's the oldest one, and the youngest ones are in their 30s.
I think one of the things they wanted was contemporary Nordic photography, and of course people who were active.
Yes, that's.
So I think that was an important thing for us to think of, that it should be people who are active in the photography scene in our countries today, actually.
Mm.
Yeah, but the word contemporary is such an interesting word, because
Absolutely.
everyone, I know a lot of photographers that would have loved to be the one that represents contemporary art.
Mm.
So it's just, since you are here, it's just interesting to hear
Yeah.
how you reflect when you do your bookings.
Mm.
And that was actually my question as well. I mean, how the selection were made in that show, since you were all Nordic, and as I understand, it was a democratic sort of talking together kind of process, but just in terms of the Nordic, if you were sort of, if you were keeping in mind that you
I think that
representing the Nordic, or you
I think that we gave up that idea like totally. Like, yeah, to make like showing like aspects of Nordic photography.
Because I mean, I guess when you were working together, you sort of perhaps saw differences between the five of you.
Yeah.
Just to see, to make it sort of compiled. But also, of course, you see yourself from outside also. What is the whole of this going to be?
Yeah, but it's like defining Nordic photography with 10 photographers. I think it's mission impossible. It's like that's totally. Of course, you can, if you choose like a theme, like you have a landscape, you can maybe it's easier somehow to have like a Nordic view on contemporary Nordic view on landscape. Yeah.
Okay. More questions? Okay then. Thank you very much. Okay then, we shall move on with our next speaker, which is Jens Friis. curator for photography at the Museum of Photography in Odense, and also editor of the journal Katalog. And he will speak on the title Katalog, an international journal with a Nordic point of view. Would you like me to have it really dark, like the last?
Yeah, yes, please. Maybe I should stand here in the front. Can everybody hear me? Microphone. Do the same thing as you. How many of you have ever been to Curator Fabrik in Odense in Denmark? Oh, luckily it's dark now, I can't count you. How many know about it? Okay. How many knows about the magazine called Katalog? Ah, I'm pleased to see so many hands. As you say, my name is Jens Friis. I've been working at the Museum for Fotokunst at Curator Fabrik for 12 years now, since May 2003. And quickly after being hired as the editor of the magazine, my director looked at me 3 months later, looked at me and said, "Oh, wouldn't you like to be a curator as well?" And I, of course, yeah, fine. And by the way, we also have a festival in half a year's time. What about being the assistant director of this festival? Yes. So 3 caps since 2003 is quite a handful, I can tell you. But it's been a very enjoyable job having 3 cabs. I should go this way around, I think. My initial director, Finn Trane, you probably know about him. One of the first shows that I did was the Helsinki School. And together we traveled to Helsinki, Finn Trane and I. And I was in the good hands of Timothy Persons. And the Galleri Bjerregaard in Copenhagen joined us. And Finn Trane had to go somewhere down south to visit Matti Sainio, a great Finnish photographer. So we went separate ways. I stayed in Helsinki, and Finn went down south to visit this old Finnish photographer. Now, I did the Helsinki School. That was a different chapter. But while staying in Helsinki and getting to know all these contemporary Finnish photographers, everybody sat up in their seat when they heard the name Finn Trane. Finn Trane. Finn Trane. Oh, I thought, oh, well, he must be a legend here in Helsinki. And it turned out that, of course, he's a legend because he connected, he shared. And thank you for offering me the opportunity, Gunilla, for sharing and connecting here today, because I think it's so important. And when Finn Trane started his museum more than 25 years ago in 87, 85, starting up and opening up in 87, he did his groundwork by traveling to all the Nordic and Eastern European museums to get to know their collections, to get to know the directors, to get networking, as we call it today. So, of course, everybody knew about Finn Trane then. Let's start the PowerPoint, because one of the things that Finn Trane also did, when you start up a museum, of course you want to make publications. When you do shows, you want to make sure that that visitors have something to take home with them to read further on. And the presentation here is called Katalog, an international journal with a Nordic viewpoint. It might also have been called a Nordic journal with an international viewpoint. Anyway, after the foundation of the Museum for Fotokunst in Odense, and in those days, it was not unusual that you would put on 25 exhibitions a year. It was completely mad. But that was how you would establish yourself as a museum. You would almost every month open 2 or maybe even 3 exhibitions in a row. And you would also print little catalogs to go with these exhibitions. And here's one of the very first ones. And here's a collection of early catalogs. These were about 20 pages each, something like that. And as you'll notice, there's Markus Jokela, a Finnish photographer. Alan Sørensen is Danish. Nordic landscape photography, Danish farming, and fine art prints. But also a lesson to be learned for a new director was that once this exhibition is over, it's very difficult to sell the catalog. So you stack them up. And you sit on these huge piles of catalogs and you don't know what to do with them. You put them on sale for maybe 20 kroners. And even then, they won't sell. So he came up together with his co-worker, Henning Hansen, later called Henning Wettendorf. Let's do something else than catalogs. Let's do a magazine called Katalog. And let's get subscribers. And in this way, you can actually get people to subscribe all over the world. It was a brilliant idea because very quickly they also found out that it should be an international magazine. So there's early editions were in Danish, but always with an English summary. And as you can see, it's quarterly. It was done 4 times a year with Henning Wettendorf as the editor. Here you can see the first 2 years, the first 2 volumes, and after that you can also see that the names changed with an underlining quarterly magazine for photography, emphasizing that, well, this is an international magazine, but again with a Nordic viewpoint, with a Nordic perspective. It kept this format for a very long time, 10 years almost, and then it changed to this format, quite a size bigger in 1997. And at the same time, this was the last year where it put out 4 times a year as a quarterly. At the same time, it actually also changed to a 3 times a year magazine. Here's an example of the layout from those days, taking advantage of the huge format, but also, I should say, a somewhat unhandy format, because it was quite large, and if people would buy it in the museum, they would have to have a huge rucksack with them, or it usually got bent in the post. It was not a handy size because the postal system in Denmark, they would charge double the fee for sending it out because it was oversized and things like that. And here are the issues from that period, larger issues. Now, Henning Hansen had been he had been the editor-in-chief with Finn Trane at his side for 12 years, and decided to step back and take leave. And that's when Finn Trane called me up out of the blue, offering me the job as editor, or at least offering me an interview together with 4 others. And I was fortunate enough to get the job. But quickly I learned that apart from also getting 2 other caps, festival artistic co-director and curator for the museum, I also learned that if there was going to be cuts in the budget of the museum, the magazine Katalog was going to be the thing that's going to suffer. And I protested already then. After 3 months of being an editor of the magazine, I said, listen, if we don't continue this magazine, somebody else will. It's stupid to give it up. It's brilliant. You've got subscribers. You've got people in Japan, in Australia, in the United States reading about your exhibitions. It's the best way to get your message across. So we decided to adjust it a bit on the size to get a cheaper postal, on the number of pages to get the weight down. Who should do the layout? Can we do it in-house or other little things? And can we make a collaboration with the friends of the museum as well? Should they also subscribe and things like that? In those days, the layouter was called Kim Løkke Jørgensen from Lucky 7. He's an accomplished artist himself in Copenhagen. And his layout is quite a challenge sometimes, but very beautiful. But he would play around with the sizes of the images, and so as the new editor, I understood that I had an obligation to continue the magazine throughout the year in the same size. But after that, the new year, I could shrink it. I could make it a completely different one. And I had a good collaboration partner from the School of Art and Design in Copenhagen who suggested a few things that we could use by putting the content out here on the cover instead of putting it on the image. Just put it on the side. And here's an example of the layout of that magazine. Now, Elina, you kindly omitted a Katalog as one of the Nordic magazines in your list, but I'd like to correct that, at least in the mind of myself. As I said, that Katalog has always been independent from the Museum for Fotokunst. It's been supported by the Museum for Fotokunst, but at least to the editors, it's been independent. Well, it's a question. Well, if you get your wages, if you get paid by the museum, are you then independent completely? And of course, half of the magazine was always what we had on show at the very moment at the Museum for Fotokunst in Odense. The other half was a playground for the editor or playground for Fintrana, and we could figure out what should we stick into the magazine. What is there a subject? Is there an interview that we could bring in the magazine? Now, this page here is, of course, again from the Helsinki school. This is Miklos Gal. And here's a page on Kjell Hilmer. Well, it's not about him, but it's one of his images, Kjell Hilmer Petersen. And as the article says, it's the focus on industry. Fintrana very much used the magazine also as a platform, as I said, as a platform to promote and to tell about the collection, the continuously expanding collection of photography that we have at the Museum for Fotokunst. We have about 9,000, going on 10,000 works of art now in our collection. And one of the ways that he did that was to create exhibitions based on the collection. Here, the permanent collection, part 10. Kåre Kivijärvi, a Norwegian artist, bordering on Finland. And here again, you'll see that the text is always in English, and then one of the Scandinavian languages. In this case, it's Norwegian. We always claim that people in Denmark and Sweden and Norway, we can read each other's languages. And if you can't, you can always switch over to the English side and say, okay, That's what it means, or things like that. So during the next 12 years of my tenure as editor-in-chief, these were the covers of the magazine. And here's an example of the layout. I'm probably a little bit more classic than the former layouter would like. So how I work with the designer is very important. I think it's crucial that images don't go over. They don't go over the spine, and you don't crop images, of course. Here's another example of pages. Obviously, let's go back a bit. Obviously, if half the magazine should be devoted to the exhibitions that we have on at the moment at the museum, the other half is equally important to me, because that's my playground. That's where I can promote up-and-coming, unknown artists. What I see at portfolio reviews, and I see a lot at portfolio reviews, a lot of good work at portfolio reviews, and it's very important for me to be able to get this release, to be able to, this is my breathing space. This is where I can push it. A Danish artist called Signe Vad, and as you can see, she's got a page here with the description, a bio down here, and a full description of her work. Sometimes I even let the artists themselves, well, that's not supposed to be blank. The artists themselves run amok. Greg Smith from Australia, he's a graphic designer himself. The other blank page was supposed to show more of his visual style, anyway. Or here is an introduction page to Stephen Shore. More covers. Two years ago, we could celebrate, the Museum for Fotokunst could celebrate its 25th, or the entire complex could celebrate its 25th anniversary. And the Museum for Fotokunst put out this little booklet celebrating the years. And at the same time when, what's that supposed to be, is that? Anyway, at the same time, at the same time, the local mayor for culture announced that, well, congratulations with your 25 years, but I think you can do better. We will have to merge you with two other institutions. Does it work? Yeah. With two other fine arts institutions in Odense. And of course we had heard rumors about it, but still, while celebrating 25 years, you would like to pat yourself on the shoulder and say, job well done. Just continue next 25 years. So we were merged with the Kunsthalle Brands and the local fine arts museum, which was a kind of a dusty place where nobody came. And of course the local city council wanted to get rid of that dusty place because it was showing red figures anyway. So we merged 2 years ago and got a new director, Mads Damsbo. Some of you might know him. And he quickly decided that Katalog, the magazine, well, very nice, need to have, no. Nice to have, need to have, no. So, coinciding with the closure of the Swedish magazine Photo this year, I had a little bit of think. I think Katalog is important. It's important enough to continue. And I read Thomas's article here very closely, and what he wrote in the article was that there were so many important articles in Photo, this magazine, that had articles that had shaped the history of photography in Sweden and in Scandinavia, and certainly also shaped most of the artists and photographers in Sweden, that it was a damn shame that it should close. So, when you're put into that position, you step back and you think. And this is one of the things that I had on my mind while thinking. Why do we need editors? Why do we need a magazine? We have internet. We have stepped further than a centralized something that, well, as an editor, you control what goes into the magazine. But everybody is on the internet now. They can be their own editor. They can filter through and they say, okay, I want to see animals. I want to see landscapes. I want to see nudes, and then get whatever you yourself would like to see. You don't need an editor. You don't need a centralized something. Or do you? I have been quite frustrated with the internet myself because there's so much information out there. It borders on graffiti, with everybody having an Instagram account, and everybody can throw anything up on the internet, and it's validated instantly by a 1,000 followers. But does it make good art, or, well? There's also the starfish model, where there's no central. And where does this, meaning that if you hack off a bit here, there'll still be a starfish somewhere. It'll grow it another leg, another star. And how does this concept of catalog fit into this new globalized, internet-based sharing in art? And whilst thinking about this, I began to index the 25 years of catalog. And I realized there are so many good artists represented with in-depth articles and interviews and so forth in this magazine, that it further underlined my personal commitment to continue the magazine. And just 2 hours ago, I was approached by Goldstein, present here, and I quickly changed my presentation. Yes, because you said to me, my husband's work is in the museum. And look here. Goldstein, Neil Goldstein. You can look him up in issue 1, volume 1, issue 1, pages 28 to 33, and also page 58. Volume 8, issue 4, page 34. Isn't that valuable? You won't be able to find it on the internet, but I'll send you a PDF file if you'd like to. Deep breath. What to do? I looked at my new director and I said, well, just because Museet for Fotokunst, and it's now called Brandt's Museum for Art and Visual Culture, doesn't want to support the magazine, it doesn't mean that the magazine would close. This stubborn editor will try and continue it because it's always been an independent magazine. And he looked at me and said, what? Seriously? Yes. So, you can measure the ocean how deep is it? Should I make the plunge? And it can take forever measuring. Is it safe? Isn't the water too cold? Is it too deep? Is it whatever? Or you can just plunge and hope that you'll resurface again. So this is what I did. I plunged out in May, and this is the first issue as an independent magazine now. I'd like to call it independent because now that I don't have to show what's on show at the museum, not Museum for Photoconst, it's called Brands anymore. I can show lots of other stuff, including Landskrona. What happens here? This is it. That's the content of the issue. I also was persuaded by my wife. She's got her own little company that I should go on Facebook. I always found Facebook to be very shallow, and that's where you exchange recipes of the whatever. But she persuaded me to go on the Facebook, and what you just saw is my Katalog's homepage, which is on Facebook. I also like to keep it flexible in that way to you could put up that of course also touches on the subject of the starfish, the decentralized, what is it? But I think the magazine is important to get the focus. Because if you don't have that sense of history, 25 years is a very long time for a magazine. When I speak to people about it, I say 25 years, that's incredible. Also, oh, we don't need to see that again, sorry. Uh, 25 years is a very long time. So it's something that you just don't give up, and it's my intention to keep it going with the good help of you, of course, because I really want to stress that it's our magazine, and I'm looking at my colleagues in the museum world as well. I had a good email from Maira Durareva from Riga last night that she's joining the subscriptions and will also contribute to the magazine. But I'm also looking at you, all the artists, because it's also very much your platform. What I do is I'm just providing the platform for this community, the ability to share in a printed page. Why don't you just put it on the internet as a PDF? You can distribute it much easier. I say no. I like the paper. I like the fact that you can find it because it's sitting in your shelf in your favorite library. You can pull it out. You can look through it, and you can, through the index that I've indexed all the 25 issues, you can actually find the articles. And I dare you, find an article on the internet that you read 5 years ago. You'll probably have forgotten it. How many here subscribe to an internet magazine? Yes, perhaps a few of you, but have you read the articles in it? No, because, well, you skim it through, you see the images, and then you read maybe 2 paragraphs of it, and then you put it away because the kids are screaming. But a magazine, you can take it down from the shelf, and you can have a read during the evening when the kids are in bed anyway. I've, of course, brought a few examples with me. I was happy to see our Icelandic artist here on the wall, because in issue 24/2, he is represented by 4 pages. So have a look. Also an in-depth article written by our colleague from Reykjavik, Maria Karen, and her colleague Jon Proppe on the current situation in Iceland. Also, being a festival director with our own portfolio review, I get in touch with a lot of artists who would like to be able to make a living of photography. And of course, I see it as my privilege and also duty to try and help them along. The Portfolio Review Award winner in 2012 was Susanne Velm, the Danish photographer, who's, I think she has 12 or 14 pages in this magazine. These couple of issues, you're welcome to browse through them in our break. I also brought with me, as I know that you should always bring pearls or candy to the natives to make them happy. I brought issues, very early issues of Sehnsucht nach der Sehnsucht, and you had it on your list, Anna Telgren, which is the Fintrane's curated show for the Scandinavian Joint Embassy in Berlin, and you'll see a nice selection of Nordic photographers in there, among others, Lars Thunberg. There's a catalog on Elie Ponsang, who died a couple of years ago, and also an example of what the new brands is aiming at, because photography is not, what should I say, high on their agenda, on our agenda now. Photography is a means of communicating a lot of things, for instance, tattoo. So you'll see photography mixed with graphics, sculpture, and things like that in this new publication. I think it was a year and a half ago. What else? Of course, I'm here to get subscribers and to get you to sign up for a newsletter, so we can keep in touch. We can expand this forum, and we can continue make it even more Nordic. Thank you. If you've got any questions, please.
I should take this one, and you should take this.
Of course I have.
Yeah.
I'm organized.
Thank you so much, Jens.
Thank you.
Very interesting. And last time I screwed up with the microphones, so I will not do that again. So everyone has to talk in the microphone since we are recording. So, questions for Jens on this interesting talk?
Thank you, Jens. And it was fantastic to hear this history about Katalog, which is fantastic. And it's, of course, very interesting with this new Nordic viewpoint. So should you say, before it's been more of a Katalog being more Danish with an international approach more, and now how do you, with the Nordic, how do you think about, what is it you want with the Nordic? Do we want more Nordic writers, or is it more Nordic photographers, or is it everything? Yes.
The focus has always been on, I think the magazine or the museum has always focused on the north, Scandinavia. It came within the DNA of Fintrane. His sister lives in Norway. He's traveled a lot in Scandinavia. So even though the collection of the Museum for Fotokunst is very international, we have photography from Eastern Europe and from South America. Certainly, the collection's main core is Scandinavian. So whenever Fintrane would put on a show based on the collection, you're bound to see Norwegian, Icelandic, Scandinavian photography. So it's within the DNA of the museum, the DNA of the magazine as well, I would say. But now that the magazine is independent, I can expand it even more. It's like when you pinpoint where you are and then make a circle. I would say the circle encloses everything to Greenland, but I'll go as far down as the Alps. But still, it's within the DNA to be focused on Scandinavia or the Nordic countries. It's probably also what's going to be defining the magazine, I hope, that. Because otherwise you could just be a European photography magazine, as Andreas Muller-Pohle puts out. I'd like to emphasize the focus on the Nordic countries, because that's where we are, and that's where my collaboration partners are, and I see so many good photographers here. But also bordering on the question that you put here, is there a defining Nordic photography? I doubt there is, but stepping back, of course there is. It's just because we're so close to the Nordic tradition that we don't even see that sometimes. But if you look at the Nordic photography scene from abroad, it's obvious, and it's sometimes you need, or I need, to step back in order to recognize that there is a common denominator between the Nordic countries and the way we see things, the way we collaborate, the ease that we slip in and out of our languages sometimes.
Mm. But you're the editor. Are you thinking of inviting co-editors or have a kind of a board from different countries or something like that?
I have that, what I call a flexi board. Again, because the three models that are the starfish, the decentralized, the centralized. I don't like to be centralized. I don't like to be the person in power. I like to be the person who provides a platform for sharing. And that's why I invite everybody here who can write, everybody here who can do photography, to share. It's your platform. I'll take care of the printing, the distribution of it. But obviously, if you want to join in writing, as Maura in Riga, in Lithuania, what do you call it? Latvia wants to, feel more than welcome. I get so many suggestions every month from people who wants to write or who wants to me to publish their works, and the flexi board consists on whoever connects with me, and if we can agree on putting something in this particular issue of the magazine, well, you're on the board.
No, I just want to congratulate you that you have the courage to take over the magazine, because I think it's really, really beautiful, and now I promise to subscribe the magazine.
I'll get that in writing, yes.
So I'm an example for everyone else here.
Thank you, Elina. I'll even sell you all the back issues. It's 25 years. It's a heavy burden.
Hi. I have another. I also must say you're very brave. And
some say stupid.
Yeah, well, that's actually my question, and I'm not sure I would have posted if you had not come across as such a super entrepreneur with such courage. And I'm the editor for a Swedish magazine that has been around from 1887, I believe. But the magazine is owned by the Swedish Association of Professional Photographers. So, and I know the economy of magazines, and that therefore I find you super brave, and I would like you to tell me, how do you have a business idea? How do you have somebody selling ads for you in the different Nordic countries? How do you finance this product? That sounds like a great product, but please tell me more.
You're looking at him. No, I have a job as a curator in the museum still, but in the wisdom of my new director, he could save the money by cutting me down in hours. So I work as a curator at the museum for half my time now. The other time I'm devoted to the magazine, but out of my own pockets. I'm not a millionaire, but I'm a passionate believer in photography. I love photo books, I love magazines, and I'd like to call the job as a curator as the bread and butter, but the magazine is my marmalade. Selling subscriptions, it's my job. Selling advertisements, also my job. It has proven with the first issue not to be a hard work as expected, because it is a magazine that's in English and in Scandinavian languages, and now independent. You'll see that the back of the magazine is taken by the Royal Library in Copenhagen. Landskrona also joined in, and Hasselblad and Galleri CFF in Berlin, and in the Kassel Photo Book Festival also. And I'm sure that this was made possible because of the fact that it's in English as well, because by subscription the magazine reaches as far countries as Australia and United States and Japan. And how could I, you say, be so stupid to continue a magazine like this? I must say that, of course, I've taken the whole clientele with me. I was allowed to do that. It would be stupid just to give it up. And when Getty Research Center in Los Angeles or the Victoria and Albert Museum in London, they continuously email me and ask, "Where's the next magazine, Jens?" I answer them, of course, it'll be in the post soon. That's the what you call the spine of my economic viability or feasibility, is that there are subscribers from the main museums abroad, from all over the world. Otherwise, it wouldn't be possible. Right. So the subscriptions and the advertising is paying the costs, but there's no wage for me. There's wage for the layouter and the printing.
Do you have a budget to buy material from others, or do you contribute? You write most articles yourself.
Well, in this issue, I wrote the article myself, and then Sarah Giersing from the Royal Library in Copenhagen contributed with an article as well. So here in the beginning, you're touching a very sensitive point here, because of course there should be money to all involved, but if we want to make this magazine continue, we all have to chip in, including the editor, publisher himself.
I wish you good luck.
Thank you.
I think I appreciated very much your tribute to Finn Tane, and also the importance of his work with the networking, because I figure that the networking will be really crucial for the work of the magazine. And I would also like to ask you about the significance of texts in it, because I think it's a brilliant idea you have the original language on one side, so we all Nordic people can read it to the extent that we can manage, and also the English one. But you would be really depending on a network of writers, of course. And I think what is very important also, just to keep the idea that you talked about, that the magazine as an object is so important. To have it a selection in your shelf, because it comes to represent what the thoughts that you have digested as a person. So, you keep it with you if you have it there. I'm just thinking about the relation between the image work in the magazine and the text work, and how to relate to theories. Should it be like new theories, or should it be review? I mean, how just to make it that, I mean, to keep it that kind of object that you want to have in your shelf, in your selection, so that you are in possession of it, in a way. Could you say something about that?
Well, working with a FlexiBoard will make sure that there'll be a huge scope, that there'll not be a focus of the publisher, editor-in-chief, that I focus on something particular, and that's my pet. This is my playground, and I'll focus on that. And that's the idea that I would hate. It would almost be like the journal of Jens Friis, and that would be silly. So opening up to all kinds of writers and suggestions from abroad. And I've just recently been in touch with Lars Kiel Bertelsen from Aarhus, and as I said, Mayra Dureva from Riga, and whatever they suggest, and we'll filter it through, and we'll see if that works. And in the next issue will be dealing with abstract photography and suggestions. If you have any suggestions here in this forum on abstract photography, you're more than welcome to send them to me.
So there will be also a variety of types of text. I mean,
yes,
there could be really like different kind of approaches.
Yeah. It's very important that it's not just a picture magazine, because the internet is full of picture magazines, so to speak. It's very important that A.D. Coleman, American writer, that he'll also contribute again eventually. Things like high-profile writers. But of course, it has to have a certain economy to be able to do that, and we're trying to reach that. Thank you.
Great. Any more questions on Jens' talk? No? Yes?
I just want to ask you about the scene in Denmark today, because as Elina said, there are only 2 museums for photography in Scandinavia now. It's in Finland and in Norway. And what has happened to the Royal Library in Copenhagen?
Well, the Royal Library in Copenhagen is still very much in existence, as you'll see from the latest issue here. There's a 20-page article on Joachim Eskilsson's current exhibition there. But as the former director, Ingrid Fischer-Junge, who also became my director at Brands, said, that it's like a black hole, the non-existent museum. So it's probably not as visible as it should be. But they've also tuned down the frequency of exhibitions, as everybody else has in the museum world. It was completely silly to put on 25 exhibitions every year, as we did in the beginning of the Museum for Fotokunst in Odense. Now most museums, they'll look at their schedule, their yearly schedule, and they'll say, okay, we'll have one big show, maybe 2 or 3 big shows if they're a bigger institution. And the Black Diamond in Copenhagen will do one big show, and then they'll do the year in reportage or press photography, and then they'll do the next big. So they'll have maybe 2 exhibitions a year. And that problem has also spurred me on to continue the magazine, because I think it's so important to dare and to share. I mean, to just in a museum, to put on the big blockbuster shows like August Sander or Ansel Adams, and this, where's the layer for the grassroots to grow? There's Fotografisk Center in Copenhagen, and there's Galleri Image in Denmark also, in Aarhus. And they nurture very much so the up-and-coming, the photography that unfortunately probably won't find the way into Brands, and probably not also into the Royal Library in Copenhagen. Did that answer your question? Yes. Okay.
Yeah, hello, I'm also from Copenhagen, so I would just like to add to what Jens just said, that the Royal Library is a library and not a museum, and although it's called a museum, it has never been a museum from a formal point of view. And as you said, they will only show like 2 shows a year now, and a problem for that is also that in the rooms where they're showing, there will be other kinds of show in between these photo exhibitions. There could be like whatever kind of printed matter or political satire, or all kinds of different kind of shows that the Royal Library would like to do. So it's not that you know that if you go down that black hole in the cellar, you could always see photography as it used to be. It's not like that anymore. And also when they hired Sarah Giersing, who is, I think, very skilled, but she was hired as a librarian and not as a curator, as was the former person in that position. So they officially really scaled down in terms of showing photography.
That's correct. And I think just as Sarah or photography has to fight for its space at the Royal Library, so do I have to fight for photography space at Brands. It's not like we have a photography show on every week or every month full time. It's always like you'll see photography there, but it'll be in the shape of illustrations to a tattoo exhibition, or it'll be in the shape of photographic illustrations to the theme, the sea, or at the moment fashion, or what else do we have? Can't even remember. So soon we'll open an exhibition called Painting the 60s, I think. Yeah, Painting the 60s, curated by my colleague Anna Kroll. And there'll be photography included there, photography from our collection. So it'll not be a photography show, but it'll be photography within a show of other visual media. Just to say that the situation for photography in Denmark has changed a lot. As I'd like to quote the former head of the union in Denmark when he stepped up on his chair and said, "Friends, we have victory." Fuck. Because if you have victory, well, what are you going to do then? And Finn Trane, he succeeded, or his generation of people who would like to see photography as a recognized art form. They succeeded. They succeeded in a way that photography were included in fine arts institutions, as you've done a lot of years ago. So photography is recognized as a legal art form. And that just means that we're part of the whole art system now. We're part of this, and we're not separate from it anymore. We can't sort of have our own little playground anymore. We're part of visual history. But that also means that we're partly becoming invisible. That's why we have to continue this.
Well said. Okay, so if we don't have any really urgent further question, we will have a coffee break now in the bar. You can have coffee and a cookie, and we will start again at 4 o'clock. Okay?